Did they make
contact? No, it's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Look at this.
Moves out to win it. Carl Edwards bumping, dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again. The bump and run.
There it is.
Maine really turn around, made a Reilly's cage up.
Welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael DIY, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric at Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had a William Byron type of weekend. He brought home 2 clocks, old slick Billy 2 clocks, getting it done out in Martinsville. And if you're liking the show, make sure you like, share, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Amazon Radio, iHeart Music. We're on everything every Monday night, and then YouTube Tuesday morning, breaking down all the races. Shout out to all the friends of the show. Shout out to the Mavericks who were in Martinsville this weekend. At least you got to enjoy Friday night. We'll get into it. Bump the Letter and Run pod, of course. Fellas, how you doing? How was your weekend? Matt was at a wedding. Daytona Ron was partying it up. I was doing a little drinking on the couch myself. How are you guys feeling today?
We're getting there. We're not there yet, but we're getting there.
You're on, day 2 of the hangover now?
Oh, yeah. That's normal anymore.
That's all right.
Well, I think the whole Thursday, Friday, Saturday thing for the first time this year threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
That was a little confusing. Friday night, having the Xfinity race, I just flat out am ashamed of myself for missing it. It turned out to be the race of the weekend too, so I'm even more disappointed that I didn't get to see that. Ended up following the last little bit on my phone, but yes, got a little banged up on Saturday for the Cup race, and got together with a few of the friends to watch some. Well, what I thought was going to be some great short track racing and get some new fans and get some of my, buddies involved and excited for, the next week and then Dega coming up. And, we kind of fell flat on our faces here this weekend, boys. But, we'll get back up. We'll get on the horse and we'll continue this thing.
Like you said, we got Dega coming up. We got Bristol Dirt. We got some entertaining type races coming up. Hopefully in the next couple weeks.
3 races, we're gonna be boots on the ground there. Eric's gonna be at Bristol next weekend, and all 3 of us are gonna be at Dover in 3 weeks from now. So we're gonna have a little bit different angle of covering some of these races coming up.
Yeah, I can't wait to get down in Dover and see that. Hopefully we get a good show. I don't know. I know it's a shorter track, not quite a short track, but we'll see. We'll see what happens down there with this package and this car. But yeah, Matt, you saw bits and pieces throughout the weekend. So you're kind of just lost as all of us, kind of, right?
Yeah. I saw bits and pieces of the truck race on Thursday. I was traveling. I came up, stayed at my parents' house, to get ready for the drive the next day down. If you any listeners aren't from the area, the wedding was about 2 hours south of where we live. So there was a little bit of travel on Friday. My wife was the maid of honor in the wedding that Whitey referred to that I was at. So Friday night was the rehearsal, and then being with a lot of the family and everything. I got to see a little bit of the Xfinity series. Actually, I got to see the last restart, and then everything that ensued after the race. So I'm thankful that I got to see that. And then Saturday was the wedding. One of my wife's cousins was watching it on his cell phone, so I got to watch bits and pieces of it there. Yeah. And then I actually we got back to the hotel just in time for, the last, I don't know, maybe 20 laps or so. So I got to see bits and pieces. But from talking to you guys, talking to a handful of other people who've watched the race, it sounds like, unfortunately, I didn't miss much. So
yeah, no, you didn't miss anything, man. In fact, you probably picked the best race of the year to skip and have to go to a wedding and stuff. So
stinks though, because we're all so high on Martinsville, and to hear that it was the snoozer that it was is it's disappointing. But like you guys said, we all tend to be pretty positive. We try to see the silver lining in it, and we've got a great schedule coming up. So it's time to look forward.
Yeah, and we'll make the best of this show, too. I think we're going to have a fun show regardless, even if the race wasn't much to talk about. We still have tons of stuff to talk about, including some news. You want to jump right into it?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, and just a couple things. Kevin Harvick, he signed a 2-year deal back in 2020, and he said he has no plans to quit in racing early. So I'm expecting them to work out a deal with Stewart-Haas Racing. He said he's really happy over there. So I assume he'll return for 2023. So if you're a Kevin Harvick fan, something to look forward to there. The RFK penalty, we got the update on Thursday. NASCAR is upholding their penalty against RFK Racing, currently sitting 31st in points, so they are making up some ground. I think Brad Keselowski is only a few points behind Harrison Burton at this point. So what's going on with Harrison Burton? And things looking up for RFK a little bit. According to some things I saw on Twitter, apparently they had tried to repair one of the bumpers, and I guess they didn't do a very good job or something along those lines. So that penalty is upholding. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I heard. Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
I didn't mean to step on you either. I just think it's the right call. Stay firm with it. You're going to be sending a completely mixed message if you find them. You make a big to-do of, oh, this is the biggest penalty, blah blah blah, and then a couple weeks later you redact it. So stay firm, and they did. So I actually applaud NASCAR for not backing down with that one. If they made it clear at the beginning of the season, before the season started,
don't mess with them.
If you mess with these cars, you're going to feel the hammer, and they did. They dropped it. So.
Yeah, I was listening to Dave Moody on Sirius XM on my way home from work today, and I just so happened to catch a part where he was talking about this, and one of the callers had called in. Lo and behold, it was an Eric from Pennsylvania. Weird. Wasn't me. But he was asking, hey, I know Brad's not dumb. Like, I know, he knows his way around, the sport and this and that. Like, why would he do that? Like, what was it that made him, put that part on? Because, and Moody's like, I don't know. We might not ever know that, but we do know that there is in place a damaged part policy where if you have a damaged part and you want to fix it, you could fix it, but then you have to resubmit that part to NASCAR. NASCAR has to approve the part and say, okay, now you're able to race with this. So whether they just fixed the part and just used it again without going through that process and thought that they could get away with something, it is probably more or less what they did. Now, what I think the caller was referring to, what I would want to know is, did someone on that team go and do that on their own? Or did Brad okay that at some point in time to do that and put that part back on? That we don't know yet. We kind of know what happened, but we kind of don't know who gave the okay and if Brad was maybe directly involved in it. But I agree with Matt. It was all there. And like Moody said, the rules were in there. The formula to go to NASCAR and have it approved and put back on, that is all there. I know it's a new season, it's a new year, but you have to keep up on that. And as far as some of these other people, I don't know who or what it would be, like Gordon is at Hendrick. Like, there should be someone overseeing all this and making sure that none of this type of stuff happens. And it's unfortunate that it happened to Brad and his new team, but I stand with NASCAR and holding their ground, and they have to uphold that penalty for sure.
Yeah, I didn't know about that policy where you could repair things and then take it to NASCAR to get a final approval. So that is good, because earlier you were talking in our group chat, you had a little bit of a tinfoil hat theory. I don't know, do you plan on jumping into that tinfoil hat theory at all today?
No, I mean, it's a possibility. I was just bullshitting earlier, but it could be. I mean, that's just something that ran through my head as far as when this race was such a dud. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, let's jump into it right now. So you had a little tinfoil hat about some of the performance of some drivers out there So what were you thinking? It has to do with parts shortages.
I mean, we all know that the parts and the shortages in these cars, it's not a big deal yet, but there are certain teams that some of these crew chiefs and drivers, they are talking about it and they're open about it, saying like, hey, we don't have a car built for next week. We have to use this car and these parts. And, when these cars get smashed up, they have to take whatever they can from that car to use for the next week and the next week. And if that car gets damaged or those parts are damaged, we now know that they have to go through a process to get approved again. So maybe that process takes a while. You know how many cars could get damaged on any given weekend. So I was thinking maybe some of these teams that, already smashed up a couple of their cars and are running low on their spare parts, or maybe already had to take apart one of their spare cars to use for parts. Maybe they kind of were like, listen, Martinsville, then Bristol Dirt, then Dega. Those 3 races, you could tear up a lot of your machinery in those 3 races.
Absolutely.
So maybe some teams are being a little bit on the conservative side and saying, you know what? We're not fast right now. We really don't have it figured out. This isn't a track to get it figured out on. Let's come out alive. Let's come out with our car intact. And you saw that from Martinsville. When do you ever see all these cars come out of there intact and unscathed? It's almost
never.
Yeah, it's almost impossible that happens.
Dude,
So
hell, the Xfinity race had a big one.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So my head just got turning about that a little bit. Like maybe there's certain teams like, okay, the Chastains of the world and the Byrons and people that are running really well. Hey, keep running well. We have a win. If we wreck this car, we could afford, to be down a few parts here and there. We have that win. We're locked in. Let's use this momentum. But if you don't have the momentum, if you're a team that's just running okay here and there, maybe your strategy is like us in fantasy, where you could only use a driver so many times.
Asset allocation.
And these teams are allocating certain cars and certain parts for tracks that they know that they could perform at. Ones that they're not real good at, maybe they're holding back. I don't know if that's too crazy because, winning is winning and everyone wants to go out and win every week.
I don't think it's
too
crazy.
But if there's a part shortage, you never know. That's my tinfoil hat after such a shitty Martinsville.
I don't think it's too crazy either. I mean, you maintain. If you have an opportunity to go for the win, go for the win.
Right.
But if you're in 6th, 7th, and there's 3 or 4 laps left, don't bang up your car. Like, we've got plenty of racing left. Let's figure this out. Let's hope the parts come. And was it Denny Hamlin who was told not to beat up his splitter?
Yeah, Denny Hamlin going into Richmond was don't beat up the splitter, because if you do, we don't have one for Martinsville, or they won't have one for Bristol Dirt. Martinsville, because we're not running splitters at Bristol Dirt. So yeah, there's already teams like worried about parts and stuff. And I wanted you to bring up the tinfoil hat, not saying this is what Brad Keselowski did, but I wonder if that's why they were trying to repair that rear end body panel and stuff, because I remember hearing a few weeks ago when the part shortages were really, like, people were worried about getting inventory to build cars going into the season. The hardest thing to get was the bodies. Because not only do they use the composite bodies for Cup now, but they also use them for Xfinity. And I kept hearing about Xfinity teams struggling to get bodies for their cars. So I'm wondering maybe that's an issue right now that's not being discussed to the general public. Again, tinfoil hats on, just trying to put puzzle pieces together. No insider information, just reading between the lines. Maybe that's what Brad Keselowski's doing, because like you said, we saw a lot of cars get wrecked at Daytona. We saw a lot of cars get wrecked at Atlanta. We saw some cars get wrecked everywhere in between. So, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think with the wheels too. So, you see Brad, he was in the news with the wheels and how he was modding those. And, he brought up the safety thing. And, maybe Brad kind of thought, okay, maybe I could win this appeal, because if there's a part shortage, maybe they'll give me the benefit of the doubt because of the situation that NASCAR has put his team in. That's not technically him. It's like, hey, if you got me these parts, I wouldn't have had to do that.
Yeah.
So maybe he thought he had something there with that.
Maybe like a glimmer of hope
that I could think of. Yeah.
But even then, you said there's a policy in place to reuse those parts, and
Right.
they didn't do it.
Right.
So like someone messed up right there, you know. So, but yeah, I just thought it was an interesting thing that you brought up in our group chat. I wanted to bring it on air. But let's move on. Next piece of news: your boy Eric Jones is going to be hosting a 3 Reasons to Race fundraiser at Birch Run Speedway up in Michigan, May 19th for the Eric Jones Foundation. He's always a great guy, giving back, reading to little kids on Facebook Live in not a weird way. He's just a big reader. I don't know. But nice to see Eric Jones doing some good. And then DW returning to the Fox booth this week for the Bristol Dirt Race. What do you guys think about that?
I'll get into it later on and what I think about it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Thank God I missed the race on Friday night because I heard Eric Jones was a dud in the booth. Unlike his counterpart and driver that he replaced for me, Kenseth, who did well in the booth. It seems like Eric's dry humor and stuff didn't come across that well on TV, and I didn't see it, but my cousin and loyal listener of the show, Shredder, he really gave it to me on Saturday at the bar, busting me about Eric Jones in the booth, and he's like, I'm sitting there, I'm watching. Goes, who is that in the booth? Like, he didn't even know it was him.
He was sending messages to us on Friday night, like, man, these guys in the booth suck. And I'm like, oh, it's Austin Dillon and Eric Jones.
Yeah. So I didn't see that. I did see him in the booth. He's been in the booth for a couple Xfinity races before that. But DW coming back. I don't know. I like a one-off. I'm not against it. A good one-off coming back for DW. I hope he still has that wild hair.
Oh, he's got that wild hair in full effect, of course. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it just as a change of pace. Like, I know, like, a lot of people didn't like Darrell Waltrip in the booth. Obviously, I understand it. But for one race, it'll be fun to hear him again.
A one-off to hear him again, come back. I'm for it.
But that's all I got for NASCAR news this week. You guys have anything that you've heard rumblings about?
No, I don't think so. Kind of slow on that front on the news aspect of it.
Yeah, it really has.
You know what I haven't seen a lot of?
What's that?
We're only a month out. Is throwback paint schemes. I don't think I've seen any yet.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Usually they start announcing sponsors for that race, so we should probably see some pretty soon.
I saw one. Chase Briscoe's throwing it back to some Tony's late model days, maybe.
Okay.
That's cool.
I saw a paint scheme for the 14 car, I think it was. He's throwing back to late model day. But yeah, you're right, Matt. Other than that, I haven't seen anything for that. I think maybe the news is usually sponsorship or paint schemes.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing I sent you guys during the week was that Chastain's and Suarez's paint schemes, that the night and day one,
those GoPro ones, those are real slick looking.
They were nice. They were nice looking paint schemes underneath the lights.
I don't know why they would run the same sponsor on 2 different cars in the same race, though. That just, we're not F1,
Yeah, that just doesn't make sense financially, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would, I don't understand.
If you guys missed that was a big running joke on Twitter this past week. So there was some bad takes from some NASCAR Twitter guy, and the rest of NASCAR Twitter ran away with it. We had some fun reading those. Roast, like even RFK roasted them. That's how bad it was. And they got roasted in the penalty hearing. Anyways, you want to move on? I got a NASCAR history kind of for you guys.
Spoiler alert, this is one of my top 3 or 4 favorite NASCAR moments of all time.
I think it's a lot of people's favorite NASCAR moments of all time, except for Joey Logano. We'll jump into it. How can we go to Martinsville and not talk about it? The 2015 chase for the Sprint Cup. We're in round 2 of the playoffs. Matt Kenseth was in a must-win situation after a rough day in Charlotte the week before. We're in Kansas, and Kenseth is having the day he needs, leading the most laps of the day, including what was looking like the closing laps, until Joey Logano, who won the previous week in Charlotte, He's already locked into the next round of the playoffs. He didn't need the win, but Kenseth threw a block on a run of Logano, and in that moment, Joey Logano decided, I'm not going to lift, and he wrecked Matt Kenseth. Good hard racing, Logano said after the race. He went on to win the race at Kansas, and then again the following week in Talladega, sweeping the round of 12 in the playoffs. Kenseth was caught up in the big one and effectively eliminated from the playoffs that weekend in Talladega. Fast forward, we're in Martinsville. First race of the round of 8, and Joey Logano is sitting on the pole. The Penske Fords of Logano and Keselowski are doing a great job of staying up front for the whole day as they were the dominant cars. But Kenseth, well, he was in the mix too all day long until a hard battle on a restart. Mainly, Brad Keselowski coming and dooring him, damaged his car. So he took it to the garage, and this was before the damaged vehicle policy. So they massaged on it. They got him back on track, run some laps. We're still points racing at this point. He's knocked out of the playoffs, but he could still gain some spots in the points standings. Unfortunately, it looked like, Kenseth's car was just a little too damaged. And a hanging splitter ended up cutting a right tire right as Joey Logano was passing Matt Kenseth. I couldn't believe it. Matt Kenseth's
timing, really.
It really.
Oh, that tire, the tire, it went right down, dude. There's nothing Kenseth could have done there.
Yeah,
Nothing.
That splitter was just digging into that tire. They were making laps, and it just wore down. And as Joey Logano was making the pass, the leader. Matt Kenseth's right front just went down, and he hooked Joey Logano right into the right into the safer barrier. Just unfortunate timing.
Yo, what did he say when the car came to a stop? I think I had a tire go down.
Well, no, he goes, yeah, a hanging splitter. I think it knocked the tire out. I went and watched the radioactive of this today as I was writing the NASCAR history. Matt Kenseth got out of the car. He goes, well, some days you're the bat, some days you're the ball, Kenseth would say after the incident. Unfortunately for Joey Logano, it's never fun when you're the ball. Kenseth would go on to be suspended for 2 races for some reason. I don't know why. He just had an unfortunate tire go down.
What do you mean?
And Logano would go on to have a rough going in the rest of the playoffs. He wrecked the next week in Texas and had a 3rd place finish in Phoenix. It would leave him just short of making the championship 4. Kyle Busch would go on to win the title that year. Old KB, I think that was the year that he ran 2/3 of the season too, due to that leg injury.
Broke his leg at Daytona.
And it should just be a reminder to all drivers that everything you do can have an effect somewhere down the line. Kind of reminds me of a young driver from this weekend. We'll talk about that in the pickle lanes later on in the show. But what did you guys think about the NASCAR history? Of course, it wasn't the spring race at Martinsville. It was a fall race, but it was an entertaining one nonetheless.
I'll never forget that moment. That's one of those deals. You'll always remember where you were when that went down.
I mean, the crowd's cheer when Matt got out of that car says it all. Like, that is the only thing you need to know, is the crowd, when he got out of that car, cheered so loud.
Yeah.
And that's because everybody knows what kind of scumbag Joey Logano is.
Oh, of course.
And I don't know. It's, to me, that is the ultimate payback. Like, we saw the Chase and Harvick thing where, Harvick, he whiffed essentially. He was trying to take him out to prevent Chase from winning, so there are drivers willing to do it. But, you go back again to Martin Truex. He should have never let Joey Logano win that championship that year. He said he wasn't going to.
Yeah.
But he couldn't do it. He did not do it. And to this day, I will say, Matt Kenseth, he did what a lot of drivers always say and want to do. He actually did it, which is it's crazy all in itself. And what I think makes it a top moment for me, and as well, Matt, it's top 3 for sure for most people in this era of racing, because Logano was the leader, like that makes it even crazier. It's not like you're running like 10th or whatever. Like, no, Kenseth, his whole front clip is off of the car. You're just seeing the carburetor and like just tires in the front. There's nothing on the front of his car at this point. He's 5 laps down, dude, and just buries the leader into the wall. It was so awesome, dude. Like, I cannot believe it. Was my header on Facebook, my Twitter profile picture, dude. It's just a legend.
You saw it coming for like a lap.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
You saw it coming, and you're like, surely he's not going to do it. Like, Joey's in the lead. Like, he's not going to do it. And then, like, as Joey was coming up on him, it was like, oh my God, like, he's gonna do it, and he did it, and it was like, oh my God! Like, I was jumping up and down like Dale Jr. just won a championship, and like, I was so happy about it.
And it was calm, cool, collected. Matt Kenseth, squeaky clean driver, never had altercations with people really, and then he just gets out of the car and he throws the sunglasses on,
and just waves to the crowd, gets in the ambulance.
It was like an all-time walk-off moment for him. Like, I wish he'd retired that day.
Yeah,
that was the last thing he ever did.
Just hung it up right there. Fuck you, Logano.
He really did walk away from that car like he just hit like the game-winning home run in Game 7 of the World Series. You know, like
if by some miracle you're listening to us, a NASCAR podcast, and you haven't seen that moment, like, do yourself a favor, go back and watch it. It's just so funny. It's awesome. It's entertaining. It's amazing.
Yeah, Google the 2015 Martinsville Radioactive, and you'll hear all the chatter on the radio. They did a great job. I watched it twice in a row this morning.
I'm going to watch it probably after we get off.
I'll tweet it if I remember. I'll tweet it later on too.
Even some of the other drivers, I think, in that Radioactive were like, "Oh my God, Matt did it!" Like some of the drivers were like, "Oh, he did it."
I know. Chad Canals was like, "I can't believe he did it." He goes, "Matt Kenseth just gained more fans today than he did in his entire career." You know, even Brad Keselowski was on the radio. He goes, "Oh, the WWE crowd probably sure like that one, like all pissed off and everything."
There's so many layers to it too, like you guys alluded to. Like when he got out and like the crowd went crazy, it was amazing. It was amazing.
And much like Martinsville this weekend, the 24 ended up going on to win. It was Jeff Gordon's last win in Martinsville, and a place he really loved to win at too. So just
Willie 2 clock,
old slick Billy 2 clocks in Martinsville. You guys want to jump right into the race weekend now? We're calling old slick Billy 2 clocks because he won 2 clocks this weekend. First in the trucks, getting it done in that GMS truck, and then again in Cup on Saturday night. Your Xfinity winner was Brandon Jones after just a crazy restart on Friday night in the Xfinity Series. Eric, you said you watched a bit of the truck race, and Matt, you saw a little bit too, right? I didn't catch any of it, to be honest with you.
The trucks, the trucks, it was almost kind of similar to the Cup race. Like William Byron kind of like he was able to hook the bottom 1 and 2 on those restarts and just take off. Like no one could get near him on the restarts.
Yeah.
And I watched him on Saturday night. The way he hooked 1 and 2 on those restarts was exactly how he got around that in the truck.
Yeah.
His exit of 2, the second place wasn't even on his bumper. He was already exiting the turn. Like his restarts and hooking that 1 and 2 was just, that was the difference. And all of Hendrick's cars were hooking, and getting through 1 and 2 in the exit really well. And I think that's where they had their advantage, even Chase. But yeah, the trucks, a lot of beating and I love the truck series, man. Like, it just seems like, that's kind of why I like college football kind of a little bit better than NFL sometimes, because in the NFL, you're getting paid, you're already there, you made it.
Yeah.
In college, you didn't make it. You're trying to get to that NFL game and you're putting everything on the line. You might do some grimy, shady shit to get along there, to get your, self through to the next level.
Yeah.
And that's what you get in the truck series, in the Xfinity series. It's a little grimier, it's a little bit more, rough around the edges, and you're gonna see a little bit more bump and dump and runs. And like that, to me, I don't know. I think more people should have eyes on the trucks and those Xfinity, because that's young talent that's trying to get to that top cup level. And a lot of times that breeds aggression, and, the racing tends to be a little bit more intense.
Yeah, a lot of times the truck and Xfinity races are the best races of the weekend. And I think because not only do you have guys really trying to make a name for themselves, like really going out there and try to get attention, you also kind of have to factor in some of that inexperience. So you'll see some little mistakes here and there, and it really does provide some great entertainment, some great racing. I used to look forward to watching the trucks on Friday night. I haven't been doing it this season just because we haven't had the time to, but yeah, William Byron getting it done. Do you think his trucks start on Thursday really helped for Saturday night? It seems like it must have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anytime you get extra seat time at any given track you're going to, I know it's a new car. It's not going to handle the same as a truck.
Yeah.
But I just think overall, you just get a feel. You just get that a little bit of timing. Like, okay, I think this is where you do this, and this is where I'm going to do that. And it's just, you get in the zone. It's almost a little warm up, get those butterflies out of the way. You already raced one.
Yeah. And then Friday night Xfinity series, we saw a big one late, a lot of crashed cars late there. And then after the red flag, some drama with some Joe Gibbs drivers, Ty Gibbs, but another Joe Gibbs driver, Brandon Jones, pulling off the win. And I was really excited. I wanted to see Brandon Jones win that one over Ty Gibbs. I didn't want to see Ty Gibbs win it again, to be honest with you. And then the post race, I'm assuming we'll jump into it during the checkers and wreckers at some point, or even the pick a lane. So I won't get too much into it. But man, just Ty Gibbs driving real aggressive, real dirty. And
we'll get into it.
So yeah, let's jump right into Saturday night. I keep wanting to say Sunday. And then yesterday, Sunday, like threw me off. It felt like a Saturday all day long because I wasn't rushing around to get to the cup race. But our highlights, 2 hours and 40 minutes, 400 laps. Thank God they cut off 100 laps of that race.
Dude, 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's
Bravo.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's a perfect time for a race.
And you want to know what? It felt every minute of 2 hours and 40. 4 cautions for 36 laps. Can you believe we only saw 2 stage breaks and then 2 cautions, and they were questionable cautions at that? Usually at Martinsville, you see guys spinning out and everything. We didn't see any of that really. But your top 5: William Byron, Joey Logano, Austin Dillon, Ryan Blaney, and Ross Chastain. William Byron led 212 laps. Chase led 185 laps, including 2 stage wins. And then Ryan Blaney led 5 laps, and Austin Dillon led 1 lap. So really not a whole lot of lead changes at all. You guys want to jump into the race grades?
Yeah, I'm ready to dish out probably the worst grade that I might have ever given out.
Matt, you were giving a face. What's the face about?
I didn't realize, again, I'm going to be upfront with you guys that, you guys know, but I'm going to be upfront with the listeners. I didn't get to see much of the race.
Yeah.
I didn't realize William Byron had led 212 laps.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was one of those deals where he led the last like 50 or 40 laps or something, but he straight up dominated.
Yeah, no, it was an all Hendrick show. It was him and Chase really dominating. Chase dominated early on.
Right.
Like I said,
being the Chase fan, I kept seeing, okay, he won the first stage, he won the second stage.
Yeah. I
just figured he led like 90% of the laps, and then, like he always does, folds at the end. But I didn't realize William Byron led that many laps. So that just took me off guard real quick. So yeah. I'm sorry, but Eric, go ahead. You were about ready to give your grade. Sorry about that.
Well, hold on. So I think the stages were real short, right, Eric? It was like 80 lap stage 1, 80 lap stage 2, and then
he was like.
And then once Chase fell off in the third stage, Byron took over, and it was lights out after that. I mean, I don't even remember.
200. Was it 200 laps? I think it was 60, 60, 80. Wasn't it?
Was it?
60, 60, 80?
No,
it was 400 laps.
It was 400 laps.
200 miles, 400 laps.
Or yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it was 80, 80.
Yeah. So 80, yeah.
And then like 2 some. So yeah, Chase Elliott, he faded in stage 3. William Byron kind of took the lead and then held on to it. I didn't even remember, to be honest with you, Ryan Blaney leading any laps. So when I looked at the stats, I was shocked. I honestly thought we only had 2 leaders the whole entire race.
It must have been green flag, pit stops or something.
I think that's what it was once it cycled, because we saw green flag stops in Martinsville, something I don't think I've ever seen.
Right?
Like, can you guys remember green flag stops in Martinsville? I was hoping maybe that would give us some pit strategy like we saw last week, and it really didn't, because then we got a caution almost immediately after everyone cycled through their pit stops. But Eric, jump into the race grades.
Yeah, Saturday was a race where I was trying to grasp onto something, to make it a more exciting race and give it a better grade, but I just couldn't find anything. First stage is going down. I'm like, okay, Chase is running away with this, but end of the stage, it's going to heat up.
Yeah.
And, then second stage happens. I'm like, okay, this is it. Going to set up here. Some cars. We're going to see some comers, some goers, some different strategy. Does not happening. Chase wins again. Okay, for sure the third stage is going to get set up to something spectacular. I'm waiting and nothing. I'm like, okay, you know what? The final 50 laps are got to be exciting. It's going to save this race. Kind of like last week, we'll get something out of it. And then I go from 50 to the last 20 laps should be good. And then the race is over, and nothing really ever came about to make it anything kind of crazy. So for me, when you're at Martinsville, and the fact that it's Martinsville, and I couldn't find anything to keep me entertained and into the race and really, really watching, that to me is just a huge red flag. And, I didn't want to do it, but the fact that it was Martinsville and the high expectations going in and how I hold that race's standards up there, I had to give this one a big fat F.
Wow. Okay.
It gave me nothing. It gave me 0. It just so happens, and I kind of tend to not let this creep into my grade, but my great fantasy day I had, I won the fantasy this week in our league that we're in, and that kind of was the most entertaining thing about the race, because my cousin is there with him and his wife. They're in the
they're in fantasy
the league
with us,
and everything. So we're kind of going back and forth chirping, and then our buddy Kevin was in it. So like
shit talking.
That was more or less what was going on, rather than talking about what's happening on the racetrack. So even that winning fantasy, I couldn't even bump it up because it had nothing to do with the racing itself. Like, man, was that just a dud of a race. And that's okay. It's okay that happens. I'm going to try to look past it and not get too, bent out of shape over it. Bad races happen. It's okay. But man, if this is the first grade for like my short track, and if this is like going to be my standard for a bad race, I had to give it an F. Just how I gave the first couple A+, this is a standard for super speedway road course. Man, this is my standard for bottom of the barrel racing that we saw. And, I think it was very similar across the NASCAR world.
Yeah, it was a rough day for me too, man. I had a great fantasy day though. Came third in fantasy. And I tell you what, the play of the day was dropping Denny and Martin Truex Jr. out of my lineup. I was looking at the practice averages. I go, you want to what? I'm not feeling good about them. And sure enough, they did not perform at all. So I had a good day of fantasy. Did not save the race for me though, like you. I gave it a D. I didn't want to quite give it an F. Although it could have been an F, but yeah, it was just a straight up snooze fest, man. No passing, no lead changes, no excitement. The Xfinity Series race the night before had my expectations for Saturday super high, and it was just a major letdown, and I don't know if it was because of the cold track. That's what I'm assuming it was. I don't know if it's the new car having too much mechanical grip where we didn't see those bump and runs. We didn't like later on in the race, Joey Logano was trying to move William Byron out of the way to take the lead and take the win, and he was smashing into the back of him. And William Byron either, I mean, he's a great wheelman and he held on to it, or these cars are just super, super grippy and he couldn't, like it didn't affect him at all. So I don't know if we have too much grip in the new car with the wider tires and you know, we saw a lot of brake lockup and stuff. So we know it was a bear to handle. Or if it was the cold track, just not taking rubber. I know at one point during the broadcast, they had a side-by-side of the track when they started, and like maybe 300 laps in, and it pretty much looked the same. There was no rubber down that you could see. And like I said, you know, it was 40 degrees on Saturday night.
That's a cold. That's as cold of a temperature as I can remember hearing about. Obviously, we're not at every race, but that I can remember hearing about a race. You know, our friends, the Mavericks, didn't they say it was snowing or flurrying at one point?
Yeah, I know it was raining, and then there was a chance of flurries. I don't know if they actually saw them or not.
Yeah, they said it was snowing over in turn 1 when they were there. You know, we had some friends that were boots on the ground, and I had talked to them today to get kind of their reaction of kind of what it was like there at the racetrack.
Because the race is always a little bit better in person, you know? Until you get down to Martinsville this year.
The main thing that I got out of it was the fact that Friday night, the Xfinity race caused a lot of buzz, and the fans were excited for Saturday night.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just ended up being a dud. And like after the race, I asked him, I said, hey, what was the crowd like? What did you hear the mumbles of? And like he said, it was kind of somber, like kind of just like dead in a way, like everyone was just leaving. They were like, heard rumbles of like, man, like I could have left earlier to beat traffic if I knew it was going to stay a dud, and like with the weather and everything. So it was just a miserable weekend, I feel like, for the fans down there in Martinsville. And it's a shame, you know. Feel bad for our two buddies that were down there and, you know, wasted a trip on a shitty Martinsville weekend. But
what was his hot dog count?
But he did say, and you know what? I have it in written proof that he's not ashamed to admit it either. My boy Matt Vav put down 15 Martinsville hot dogs on the weekend. So,
boy, let's all give him up.
Oh yeah,
boy Vav putting them down, staying warm.
How many did his brother Joe Vav have? I want to know how many he had too. We need.
Joe Vav, get on the YouTube and comment down here. How many dogs did you and your brother combined eat? Let us know. The fans want to know the dog count.
I want the full total count. Put it in the comments. But yeah, I as soon as the race was done, I was like, man, I can't believe the Vavs went all that way for that race, man. It sucks because like you look forward to going on those trips. I can't imagine how pumped they were to get down there after Friday night, excited to get there Saturday. Then they're dealing with rain delays and everything. It just puts a big hamper on the weekend. And yeah,
you know what though, man? Like we went to Bristol back in 2016, 2017, 2016.
Yeah.
And it was a rain out. It pushed the race back a whole day. It caused travel issues with us. We had I had to burn extra work days that I wasn't planning for. I woke up in a freaking puddle, like literally woke up in a puddle. All of that being said, don't regret it for the world.
No,
one of the greatest weekends ever. And sometimes those shit weekends, yeah.
I'm sure the Mavericks had such a blast, and everyone there had such a blast. The racing might not have been the greatest, but at the end of the day, you're at a racetrack seeing the best of the best perform. And even if you don't see them perform because of a rain out, you're still having a blast at the racetrack. So, it stinks, but worse things are happening out there.
That's true.
I just remembered, speaking of the weather, it was that same year, I think, in 2016. I had gone to Atlanta that year. Mm-hmm. And after that year in Atlanta, the following year, they actually made a revision in their ticket holders where if it was 50 degrees or colder the day of the race, you got your money back for your ticket, because the previous year, 16, when I was there, it was only 45 degrees that day, and it was cold, but it was 3 degrees back home. Me and my buddy PJ, we're walking around in t-shirt and shorts, drinking beers all around the hollers. Everyone's looking at us like, what is wrong with you people? Well, we're from friggin' Pennsylvania. It's 3 degrees, and we're going with 50 and the sun was out. It's like, oh, this is beautiful, But so that race, it was cold, and they actually changed their policy as far as like getting your money back for your tickets, or if it was too cold, you could renew them for the previous year. They would stand. So I wonder if Martinsville will do anything like that now, since they had a little cold weather come through.
I don't know. They might. Vavs, look into it. You might be able to get some free tickets or something to the next race. Matt, you didn't see the whole thing, so what are you doing for a race grade?
I am giving it an NA, non-applicable. I didn't want to fudge it. I don't think that's fair to the listeners and everything. I didn't want to give a fake grade just based off of what people have told me. I saw highlights. I've talked to a handful of people, including you guys, about the race. I've got enough information about the race, but still not enough to give it my own grade. So I just gave it an NA, not applicable. Unfortunately, time restraints. By the time we got home yesterday, I did record the race. I had every intention of watching it, but once I talked to everyone and everyone said it was a dud, honestly, I didn't even bother. I probably could have watched it last night when I got home, but I didn't even bother at that point. So NA, non-applicable. We're on to Bristol Dirt.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, in the grand average of NASCAR races, maybe this will be that drop the lowest score. You remember that in college where it's like, oh, yeah, like I did bad, but he's going to drop the lowest score at the end of the semester. So then when we get to the end of the season, maybe this one will be the one that we drop from we're like, man, this was a great season, except for that one stinker at Martinsville. Thankfully, they redeemed themselves in the fall, and that's what I'm hoping for when we get around playoff time. But do you guys want to jump into checkers and wreckers?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, Matt. Let's start with Eric this week since he saw the race. So
that's my penalty.
That's your penalty. You're getting spun out to last place.
My checkers, it has to go with my crush. It's got to go to it's got to go to Slick Willie B. Him sweeping the weekend is something that I wanted to have as my checkers because it focused on the racing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other stuff that happened. I wanted to focus on the dominance that he displayed this weekend and dominated the Truck Series. And then, he dominated on Saturday night. And, when you see, old
Slick Willie 2 clocks.
Slick Willie 2 clocks.
When you see old Slick Willie 2 clocks coming in with his leather jacket, ripping down a lung dart, leaning against that old clock, hot dog in one hand, tall boy in another, silhouette of himself on his jacket, dude, you're in trouble,
The silhouette on the jacket's him smoking a cigarette in front of a clock.
Yeah.
We need to get old Slick Billy 2 clocks liquor sponsorship.
Oh, but yeah, I had to give it to him. And on a lighter note, I thought that it was awesome that his mother was there to see him win. She last time they were in Martinsville had to get rushed to the hospital and had found out she had a brain tumor.
Yeah.
And she ended up, I think they all went back to that hospital again and went around and thanked a lot of the people that were there. And, she attended this race and watched her son dominate the weekend. So I thought that was cool to see her get down there and have that interview and seeing her and, just the excitement that you see a mother with her son and going through all the stuff that they have. I know Eric Jones, he went through that when his father, got sick and that's not something easy to do, is get into that car every week when you're going through stuff like that. So good for him, sweeping the weekend while his parents and his mother was there. And it was just an all around good story for Willie B this weekend.
That's a tough track for Hendrick Motorsports in general too, with everything that happened with Hendrick, losing a lot of his family, including his son there too. So it's gotta be a little redeeming when one of his drivers wins at that track too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they said on the broadcast that William Byron's mother is cancer free now too. So
that's fantastic.
Wishing them all the best. And it was just a great win for the family and for Hendrick Motorsports. How about your wreckers? What do you reckon this week?
I have to just wreck NASCAR. You managed to put a racetrack in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
And bring a tire that performed. You know, you managed to make Atlanta into a super speedway race. It was excellent. You brought in Coda, which was a huge success. Auto Club, Vegas, amazing. We're all thinking, is this next gen car, is it unstoppable? We're like, are we going to get every race isn't going to be amazing? And until you get to the bread and butter of the sport, which is Martinsville short track racing.
The oldest track we go to, right?
And you drop the ball. How do you get through all of that? And then you get to one of your staple tracks and you just drop the ball like that. It was just, to me, hearing the drivers afterward, they talked a lot about the gearbox wasn't right.
Yeah.
The tire compound that they brought there wasn't right. There wasn't enough fall off. You know, so there were certain things that I'm like, shouldn't they have known this and had kind of a package for this? Shouldn't they have at least run one test at Martinsville recently?
Yeah.
Like they're doing at Bristol, like the week before. Send somebody out there and run a tire, run something. It's a new car. We're going to these tracks. You'd think that would have been something that they had taken care of. And I think we're seeing after the race, maybe if they did do some testing there and used a different gearbox, brought a different tire, we might have seen Martinsville of old. But I just have to wreck NASCAR for being kind of unprepared with the next gen car at Martinsville.
Yeah, I wonder how much the weather honestly played into what we saw on Saturday too, you know. Because cold track, cold tires, they're not gonna wear, you know. Could they have predicted using a softer tire compound? I don't know. I do agree though with the gearbox. Like, that's outrageous. Like, why are we shifting down into second and only getting the fourth in a 5-speed gearbox at Martinsville? Like, that to me seemed like kind of outrageous. And like you said, that's something they should have noticed in testing, but I don't think they tested here at all. So, but I agree. I think those are good ones. How about you, Matt? What's your checkers and records for the weekend?
My checkers. So the reason why I didn't chime in before when you were talking about old DW joining the booth one more time was because that's my checkers. When I heard that, it kind of warmed my heart a little bit. Does he get on people's nerves? Yeah, he does. That's kind of been part of his shtick for
Forever.
Years. Yeah,
So, since the 70s.
Yeah, they named him. I mean, his nickname is Jaws.
Yeah.
He talks. He says stuff, you know, and then once he gets in the booth, he talks. He says stuff. He likes to get on people's nerves. But one thing that he does is, like, he calls it like he sees it. And I'm kind of looking – the reason why it's my checkers is because, like, dude, he doesn't work for Fox anymore. Like,
he can say whatever he wants.
He can say whatever he wants. And you know how older guys, too, typically
they lose that filter.
The more of a filter you lose, the less you care about what anyone feels. I feel like DW is going to give us something that we're all going to be talking about come Monday after this race on Easter Sunday, nonetheless. So I'm excited about that. Give us one more boogity. Like both of you had mentioned before, I wrote it down here and I was kind of nodding along. If you guys noticed, you know, you both said for one race, give me DW.
Yeah.
And that's about it. So I'm good with it for a one race deal. Or I don't even know. Is it one race or is it two races?
All they said was Bristol Dirt. I don't know if he's doing another one after that. But
even if it's two races, one or two races, that's fine. You know, we'll get him and then he'll be out of there again. So
yeah,
I thought that was cool to hear. And then my records, well, we said we were going to talk about it. So let's talk about it. Goes to Ty Gibbs.
Yeah.
This is the big league, son. I'm not wrecking you because you fought. I am wrecking you because you've got to take your helmet off. I am wrecking you because after the fight, in your interview with Vince Welsh, you didn't take any ownership of it.
None.
As a matter of fact, what did he say? I actually have it down here, and I quote, he tried talking to him, then we got all up in my face, so at that point, we got to start fighting.
Yeah.
No, Ty, that's not when it started. It started when the race was over and you were still on the track and you smashed into the back of him with your car. That's when it started. At that point, you have to be smart enough to understand there's probably going to be at the very least some words exchanged, maybe some pushing and shoving because I just destroyed my car into his.
Yeah.
You've got to have that helmet popped off. You've got to be ready to rock and roll when you get out of that car. He kept his helmet on. That's Bush League. He shoved Sam Mayer, and then he walked away, and then, Sam Mayer came after him because he wasn't going to take his shit.
Yeah.
So I was not the biggest Ty Gibbs fan going into that anyway for other reasons that I don't really care to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah.
And that just pushed it over the edge for me. And I know we've got a pickle lane to to talk more about this subject a little bit, so I don't want to go too far into how I feel. But he's got a lot of growing up to do, and he made a lot of enemies this past weekend.
Yeah, going back to the NASCAR history this week, Joey Logano said that Matt Kenseth's move was chicken shit. And that perfectly sums up what I think Ty Gibbs did, because not only did, like, yeah, you put your frustration out after the race, you smash into the back of him on the cool down lap, whatever, you pull up right behind him, you smash into him on pit road.
They actually had to pull the cars apart.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah. It's like you can see the hood, everything's all smashed. Like, whatever, fine, that's fine. Then you get out of the car and you approach his car and you don't take your helmet off as you're approaching the car. That's chicken shit. That's chicken shit, Talk to him like a fucking man. I don't know. I agree. How about you, Eric? What's your thoughts on the whole situation?
Yeah, I had a little fun with you guys when it first went down, because I said I didn't see the end of it, and
we're in the pot. Eric was stirring the pot.
Yeah, so I woken up. It was, I think at this point it was Saturday morning, and I sent these two a Snapchat video of my response, kind of like just busting like the other end of it. I'm like, yeah, Ty Gibbs, like, punch him. It was all Sam Mayer's fault. Just like not getting the whole gist of it. Just getting the boys all fired up. But after you two had explained what went on and showed me the video, and then I went back and watched the whole thing instead of just clips. Yeah, Whitey, you summed it up pretty good with that was just chicken shit. Like if you're that upset that you're gonna smash your car into somebody, then you should take your helmet off and not be afraid to take your helmet off if you're that mad. So like Matt, you said, he started it on the racetrack and Sam Mayer kind of finished it off the racetrack.
All right. We'll talk a little bit more about the Ty Gibbs in the pick a lane. A little teaser. My checkers and wreckers, I'm also keeping it on track like Eric did. Austin Dillon with a really good run on Saturday. I thought he had a good shot at the win with that late race restart. He had a really good long run car, which I was surprised because a lot of people weren't making a whole lot of moves. So he was really just picking them off one by one throughout the day. Started, I think, in 22nd or around there. So really had a great car. And I think him and Joey Logano kind of added a little excitement near the end. That's probably why I gave it a D instead of a straight up F, because there was like a glimmer of hope near the end with those guys and that late restart. I thought, Austin Dillon was right behind William Byron. I thought maybe he could dive bomb him.
Spun his tires.
Yeah.
Spun his tires. He admitted it afterward. He's like, I was there. He goes, I had everything in my head that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I had it played out in my head. He goes, I just didn't execute the plan. He goes, the minute I spun my tires, he goes, that plan went right out the window. He goes, I screwed up. I knew what I needed to do. I knew what I wanted to do, but he just couldn't get her done in, in those key moments. And that to me, is when it matters. And, most of these NASCAR races are going to come down to the final restarts and go into overtime. And you have to hold off by getting a good launch and restart.
Yeah.
You see the likes of Larson and Kyle Busch, how amazing on restarts they are. And you have to be for that specific reason that we saw where, William Byron, in the trucks and in Cup, he has to hold. You have to hold the field off. You have to get through those gears and time it perfect. And, he has that down. And, Whitey, I agree, dude. Austin Dillon, man, I feel like every week, we're bringing him up on this podcast for running well, inside the top 10, being close up there. So it wouldn't be shocking to maybe see Austin Dillon, getting closer, maybe a Coke 600 win or something coming up in the future for AD.
Yeah.
He already has one.
Oh yeah.
So it's not out of the question.
He had 3 top 10s in a row, 2 10ths and of course a third this past weekend. And
he's sitting 15th in points.
And I'm almost certain that Clint Boyer, Mike Joy said that he had spent more time in the top 5 during this race than any other race of his career. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Dude, he's only 4 points. Now I realize Kyle Larson does have a win,
Yeah.
but he's only 4 points behind Kyle Larson.
Yeah, they're just running super consistent.
Yeah.
Running around 15th to 10th place every week. I feel like Austin Dillon gets a lot of hate that's kind of undeserved.
I agree.
And I think we're seeing some nice movement out of him at least. So I wanted to give him my checkers. Gotta also give an honorable mention to Dale Jr. Drinking beers on pit road after the Xfinity race with the other drivers. That had to be a great thrill for some of those young guys. I know, like, he was taking pictures with, Noah Gragson, which, they work together every day. He's the team owner and stuff. But then like other guys like, Ryan Vargas, who runs in kind of a shitty backmarker car. He was hanging out with them, and just all these young guys really soaking it up. I felt like that was real old school short track racing shit, Like
he did that. He did that the day he retired at Homestead.
Yeah.
Actually, his best friend Martin Truex won the championship that year. He just cracked open. He just brought a bunch of Budweisers, a lot of Bud Heavies over, and cracked them open and just drank on the tarmac there. So it was really cool to see him do that again.
Yeah, I saw he was drinking Bud Lights this weekend and some Budweiser Select 55s. So he must be watching. He's watching those calories.
Yeah, he's been talking about that on his podcast. He's watching his calories.
Yeah, it made me want to try that beer. It probably tastes like water, though, to be honest with you. But maybe I'll pick up a 6-pack one day if I see it. My wreckers got to go to Denny Hamlin from a win last week to start struggling, like seriously struggling to stay on the lead lap during the first stage and finishing 3 laps down. MTJ, add him to the list. Man, what is going on? It made our betting video look terrible. Matt, you did a great job with the betting video. You've been killing it the last couple weeks. Just got to give you praise. But man, did we look like fools?
Yeah.
But you talked about the odds-on favorites, Martinsville. They named the track after him, and he did shit. Denny Hamlin. At Martinsville. At Martinsville.
The week before, my predictions, they all came to fruition. I picked Denny to win. He won. I looked good. I was feeling great about myself. And I did that video on Saturday leading up to Martinsville, feeling great about myself. And then, the race happened, and I was like, oh, my God, everything I said in that video did not happen except I think I said Blaney. I liked Blaney to get a top 5.
And he did. He got a 4th place.
I apologize. I should probably even wreck myself there to anyone who might have taken my advice there. I definitely apologize. I'll try to make it up in the next 2 weeks at Bristol and Talladega. But if there's 2 tracks that I'm just going to be playing a guessing game at, they're probably the 2 tracks.
I tell you what, though.
I'll tell you what. In fantasy, I went 3 for 4 again in the versus picks in fantasy this week.
Eric's got to be making these gambling videos, not me.
Yeah, what are you doing, Eric? You want to what? I also went 3 for 4 this week, which is a rarity. And I would have went 4 for 4. I took NTJ out of my lineup, and I forgot to select William Byron over MTJ. I knew Martin Truex Jr. going into the race said he had a bad car and he wasn't expecting much. And I slipped and I forgot. Thankfully, I picked Kyle Busch over Kyle Larson, and Larson had that speeding penalty that saved my fantasy day. He ended up 17th, and Kyle Busch ended up.
That's the only one that
10.
I got wrong. I picked Larson to finish better than Busch, and that was the only one that I whiffed on.
And he was running better than Kyle Busch all day long too. It
know.
was just that penalty. It saved me, got me extra 10 points in fantasy. I had a great fantasy weekend this weekend too. Man, just wish the race was a little bit better. But yeah, that's my wreckers. I mean, just Joe Gibbs racing in general, to be honest with you. Christopher Bell looked really good. But then I think he had a speeding penalty also.
Yeah, penalty crushed his day.
Cole Custer, someone I was surprised. He was looking great too all day long. Your father, Matt, had him in his fantasy lineup. And when I first saw that, I'm like, man, Mr. Reilly, Mark, what are you thinking? And then, sure enough, 2 stages, Cole Custer was running great. Just so happens he hit his own tire, an uncontrolled tire penalty in the pit box. Really unfortunate for Cole Custer, who's been having some great runs in practice and qualifying, and this might be a little turnaround we see for Cole Custer. What do you guys think about that?
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I mean, he tends to show up every once in a while, show some glimpses here and there at certain racetracks. but I think more or less we might see this Denny win of last week, Whitey.
Yeah.
We might look back and be like, wait, Denny won a race? When did he win a race? Because, man, that could be a bright spot in his season because he might need that bad, the way Joe Gibbs is running. Like, we might look back and they might not get it together. We just went from saying they're getting it together the last 2 weeks, coming from Coda, going to Richmond. Denny wins. Is Gibbs back? And I don't think that they are just yet.
No, I don't think they are either. I think, honestly, the tinfoil hat, I think anytime Toyota sponsors a race, I think that maybe there's some tomfoolery going on with Joe Gibbs.
Wow,
and the officials.
Wow,
Little greasy palm deals. I don't know. Just throwing the conspiracy theory tinfoil hat on. I'm just saying. They've been doing dog shit all season, including this past race, and they did great in Richmond. I don't know. Little weird. Christopher Bell, though, he's been solid. He was running solid yesterday. Someone else who ran really solid, actually Eric's pick to win last week, Eric Almirola, running pretty solid in the top 5 all day long, finished out in 8th. I thought that was a great run for Stewart Haas Racing. Kevin Harvick looked really good. He was running in the top 10 for most of the night. I think he finished just outside the top 10 in 13th or 14th.
14th, because Eric Jones finished 13th right in front of him.
Yeah. Eric Jones, you want to know what? I was going to pick Eric Jones for fantasy. Not going off anything besides Richard Petty and the history at Martinsville. I know Petty always put a lot of hard work into their car. They kind of prepped that car more than they prepped for Daytona. And we didn't see much from Eric Jones earlier on, but he was another one where he just kind of chipped away one car at a time. So that
it
green
took him all day, kind of like Chastain, like it just starting back in the 20s and the 22nd, I think in 26th he might have started, and like all day long that's the way you had to do it, one car at a time. Keep your car clean and just pick them up. And where a lot of spots surprisingly were gained? The choose cone. Yeah, big time on the choose cone. Yeah, that was the spot where you could pick up a few spots if you decided to, take the top, because everyone's going to go bottom. It was the only groove all day that was worthwhile.
Yeah.
But if you needed some spots, you could collect 2-3 spots by just going to the top and hope someone bangs or moves out of the way. Maybe spins their tires, and you could get in on the bottom and maybe gain more than a couple, 2-3 spots. So the choose cone seemed to be in play a little bit.
Yeah, the choose cone and definitely on pit road in that third stage with the green flag stops, which I was shocked to see, and just the errors. That's a tight pit road. You have to go all the way through the corner. Some of the speed. The lines are different, so if you're on the inside of the turn, you got to be going slower than the outside.
They're not the same all the way through, like square boxes. It's the timing sequence is tricky there.
But yeah, that's really all I saw from the race. Matt, I know you didn't see much. Eric, do you have anything else to add to the race weekend in Martinsville?
No, we covered what we saw, and it sucks some weeks that we have to kind of dig and look and search for things, but we can't make it up. The race happened, and it was what it was on Saturday night, and I think Matt hinted to this, that was the race. We can't either try to make it better than it was. We're being real here on the podcast, how we feel during the race, and I think that's something that I pride myself in. What we do here is we give you our genuine, honest opinion on what the race was. And, some weeks it's good and some weeks it's not so good. And, I was pissed at first that we had a dud, but it's going to happen. I think
we're kind of due for one too,
It just stung though that it was Martinsville. Like I would have rather last week completely sucked and had an amazing race this week. But I think just because it was Martinsville, it stung just that little extra.
Yeah, and we said it a couple weeks ago. I felt like we were handing out too many A's and A+ races, and here we get smacked with a D and an F.
Coming back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah. So but yeah, it's racing, you know. You can't always knock it out of the park. You know, sometimes it's going to be an 0-0 game that goes into extra innings, and you're just waiting to go home. You know.
You know, like Kenseth said, sometimes you're the ball, sometimes you're the bat. You know.
Oh yeah. But yeah. Anyways, move on. Every podcast loves to talk about the winner. Everyone's going to be talking about old slick Billy Two Clocks with his 2 clocks. But here we like to talk about the loser who came in last, and that was one BJ McLeod. Only completed 132 laps until handling issues ended his day in the Live Fast Motorsports 78. And that's all I got to say about that.
You know, every time, just one quick thing. Every time I see his name, I just think he should be running in the top 5 with that name. That name just screams
that's a racing name.
To me.
Oh,
that's a racing name for me. And like, he needs to get into a ride where I see that name more often in the top 10.
He needs to go down to trucks and be that grizzled old veteran truck driver. Like, oh yeah, it's BJ McLeod. Like, oh, don't get close to him. He'll put you in the wall, man. He doesn't fuck around.
Stay away from him.
Yeah, he'll race you hard. He's like Ryan Newman. He's hard to pass. You know. But no, I agree. I think he's running a part-time schedule too. So, but yeah, that's all I got for that. That's the race weekend down in Martinsville. But like Eric said, the choose cone played a huge part in the race. If only we had more cautions to utilize that choose cone. Thankfully, here at the Pickle Lane, I give you a topic. The choose cone's out. You guys get to pick your side of the discussion. And let's just jump right into it. Ty Gibbs, man, great racer, undeniable. You can't deny the kid's talent. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. But do you think he's already going down the wrong path with his attitude? Do you think it has to do with his young age? Can he change and adjust as he grows, or are we seeing growing pains? I don't know how to phrase this, but like, what do you think the problem with Ty Gibbs right now is?
Okay, let me take this one first here, Matt.
Okay.
What I see out of this is kind of the same thing that I saw from Noah Gragson.
Yeah.
I think Noah Gragson had a bunch of people hate on him because he came out, he won. He dominated a few of those wins, had a little ego, got a little testy, said and did a few things that were questionable, got some fans to turn him and hate on him. Then, you know, he might have had a couple sit downs with the old boss man, you know, Junior might have gotten to his ear. A couple other, you know, elder drivers may have talked to Noah and said,
Kelly
hey,
got into his ear. Kelly's like, running the ship over there. Don't let anyone
and it's
fool
like,
you.
hey, if you don't get it together, this is not the way you want to do it. So in a way, I see that this might be the same path that Ty is going down, being, you know, super, what is he, 18 years old? So it could be being young and, you know, picture yourself back at 18, you're going to be pissed, you're going to be fired up. I think it's something he could get over. I think it's something that he will fix. I don't think the coach is going to let that continue. I think he'll get the talk unless the coach kind of operates like Roger Penske. If Roger Penske is the boss man for Ty Gibbs, I think Ty Gibbs doesn't change. I think Ty Gibbs becomes the villain, and Roger Penske says, hey, that's what you do on the racetrack, because that's the type of person he is.
Yeah.
I think coach is opposite. I think coach is going to settle him down, tell him it's okay to do this, this, and this. It's okay to have passion. I'd like to see the passion. But, you know, just know that it was a coward move and know what to do the next time that this situation arises. And I think everyone needs a moment in time to have a learning experience. And that's what I think this is going to be. He did something foolish. He's young. He should learn from it. I think the people that surround him are going to help him. But it was just a shit ass move, but I think he could get over it.
Yeah. How about you, Matt? How do you feel about the situation?
Yeah, I think age absolutely plays a factor into some of his bad decisions that he's been making. I mean, he's been smashing into people. He had a couple weeks ago, he was getting into it. Was it Reilly Herbst? Who did he have? Who did he have a run-in with?
Ryan Stieg.
Yes,
Ryan Stieg in the 39 car.
Thank you. Yeah, he had a little run-in with him, and then obviously the whole thing that went down with Sam Mayer.
John Hunter Nemechek last week. So yeah, he's going through a lot of stuff. It's like Eric alluded to, it is growing pains. I mean, look at what the three of us were doing at 18 years old, making the bad decisions we were making. I was a great kid at 18.
Well, okay. Well,
I went downhill around 1920 when I started hanging out with you guys all the time.
I was going to say, Eric and I were making boneheaded decisions at a young age. And, so I get it. I do get it. And is there time for him to be redeemed? Sure there is. I don't hate the guy. I just dislike a lot of the things that he's been doing.
Some of his personality. Yeah,
and his personality. But again, he's
young too. He's young and cocky. That rubs people the wrong way. But
right. Now, but that's not to say somewhere along the line I can't like him. I disliked Kyle Busch for a long time, up until probably a year or two ago, where I decided, this guy has earned my respect. He has done enough in this sport where, we want personality. We want that to come out, but in a natural way. We don't want it forced out. And Ty Gibbs, it almost seems like, he seems like he's a nice guy by all accounts, but it almost seems like he's forcing this persona or whatever. Whitey, you alluded to it just a couple minutes ago. The kid has got all the talent in the world. That is undeniable. He's won so many truck races. He's won how many Xfinity races so far? He's so talented. He should let that talent carry him. He doesn't need to be getting into these confrontations and everything. He doesn't need to be bouncing off of people on the racetrack. He needs to just let his talent do the talking for him. And again, the personality, we want to see that as fans, as entertainment. We talked about it last week.
That's a great point too. No, that's a really good point, because if he didn't do anything, everyone would be like, "Oh, these guys, they're so vanilla. They got no personality." Back in my day, they would fight.
Right,
so
right. The personality is fine. The fighting is fine too. It's just the etiquette of how you go about it, and
take
then
your
what
helmet
you say
off
after is what I think rubs most people the wrong way. So keep it up, dude. Ty Gibbs, if you want to go out there and fight every day, every week after a race, go out there and fight every week after a race. Just carry yourself a little bit better before and after you do so. And again, you have all the talent in the world. Listen to me. I'm talking like he's going to be listening to our podcast, but he has all the talent in the world. He just needs to let that carry him, and everything else will come naturally.
I mean,
well, it's perfect that it's Martinsville, the history this week with Kenseth and Logano.
Yeah.
And, I always get, confronted and, oh, you hate Logano just because of what he did to Kenseth. And yes, that is a major reason.
Huge part.
But I hated him before Kenseth took him out. Just because, and it was Brad at the time as well. It was just those two. And that's why I alluded to Roger Penske, earlier when I was talking about Ty Gibbs and, with the coach, what he's going to say to him versus what Roger might have said to a young Joey Logano was, Logano had all the talent just like Ty does. Logano was going out winning races. But the thing is that what irritates people and what irritated me was, fine, you could be mad at somebody, you could beat and bang somebody, but like you said, Matt, after the fact, own up to it. It's how you get out of the race car and perceive that. Logano basically didn't admit he ever did anything wrong. And that's a young attitude. That's young ego coming out that you just can't hide that, and eventually, even to this point now, I don't think Logano is the same person as he was back then. And you just grow as a person, you mature as a racer and a human. And I just think it's definitely an age thing for sure. But it's definitely how you respond, like own up to it, admit it when you're wrong. And when you really know you're right, I don't ever mind you sticking up for yourself and fighting for it.
Yeah.
But when the majority of the people and the fans, you're getting, basically caught red-handed on live TV, doing what you were doing and then you say the complete opposite.
Yeah.
That's where the bad look comes in. So it was the helmet staying on and then just the backtracking in the interview like you did nothing wrong. Those are the Joey Logano-esque type of things that irritate people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the quality, like own up to what you're doing.
Right.
Like we said, all the talent in the world, 26 Xfinity races run so far. He's got 15 top 10s and 7 wins. That's like 27% of his races entered in the Xfinity series he's won. So talent, not a factor. I think that might be some of the reason why he's acting the way he is, because he's used to winning. He's not used to losing yet. He's not a gracious loser, if that makes sense.
That's how Kyle Busch was, like Matt said, and I like that fire. I like that when my driver comes in second, he's pissed. You should be pissed. You know what I mean? That means you want it. That means you're dedicated to the sport that you're in. And that means every week you're giving it your all, like you should be mad if you come in second, if you could have won or you should have won. So it's just that fine line. You got to walk with it. Know when to unleash that beast and know when to put a bottle cap on and just get to the next week.
So here's the thing. Do you embrace the villain role now, or do you try to repair your image a little bit?
No. Whatever comes naturally.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're truly an asshole off the track, and that's who you are, then that's who you are.
Let it shine.
If you're a nice guy, like there's no reason to manufacture, like this isn't the WWE, we're not trying to manufacture anything. And I truly believe that Ty Gibbs probably is a nice guy, knowing how much he's into faith and all that. Like, yeah. I'm assuming he really is a nice guy. Don't manufacture it. Just do whatever comes natural, because if there's one thing that fans can do, especially NASCAR fans, is we can sniff out the bullshit.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do is be fake, because then you're really going to get on people's wrong side. So,
okay. So my thing is, I think Ty's a nice guy, probably outside the racetrack, but there's certain circumstances where are you allowed to be two different people once you put the helmet on and once you take it off? You know what I mean? Like, yes. I don't think he's going to be able to correct himself anytime soon, because on the racetrack, he is aggressive. That's how he drives. So he's going to get himself in these situations more often than he's not going to. Yeah. And if he wants to stop doing that, then he's going to kind of have to stop being as aggressive on the racetrack. And he's just not built that way. His mentality on the track is, I'm going to race, I'm going to go win, and I'm going to do that at any, at all costs. So if he tries to change that, or if they want him to change that, you might see his production get off. So to me, I don't think he has a choice. I think he's already, made that decision, and the way he drives is going to be the way he's perceived. And that is the villain. He already is. He drives like a villain. So in all honesty, I think that's what he's going to have to roll with. And I think that is going to be the natural look on it. And I'll look on it from this point forward as, hey, there's Ty, the driver, when he's in that vehicle. And then when he's outside of it, that could be a separate entity where, he turns that competitiveness right off, and it is what it is. But never good. Never good. Yeah, never good to leave your helmet on, though.
All right. I had another pick, Lane. I think we kind of already addressed this one. Are we ready to rule out next-gen car and short tracks? Do we need to see more? Do we need a short track package? We kind of talked about that, like the need for like maybe some more testing at short tracks and maybe a different transaxle. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Do we need a short track package, or do we just should we just keep letting everyone figure out the car as we go?
Well, I don't think it's fair to change anything up yet for their short track package. I think we just need to get through this season before making any kind of knee-jerk reaction. The Coliseum was awesome racing. We can't forget about that. It was just 2 months ago. We were all, lit up about it. It was amazing. It was so much fun to watch. So
yeah,
that was the epitome of short track racing. I know we don't have any natural short tracks on the schedule that are that short of a track, but still short track racing. I think we only got to see the one true short track race, which was Martinsville, which was unfortunately not a great race.
Yeah.
We did have Richmond. That doesn't necessarily race like a short track, and then some people call Phoenix a short track.
That one doesn't really race like a short track either.
It definitely doesn't race like a short track. It races more like an intermediate,
yeah,
like 1.5. So in my mind, we've only seen one true short track. Next week, we're going to Bristol. That's going to have 1 million pounds of dirt on the track. So you can't really take anything from that.
No.
So the next time we're really going to get into a short track is Bristol in the fall.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think they should change anything. I just think be a little bit better prepared. Just prepare better. I don't think change anything. I think the week before or the week, 2 weeks prior, send someone out there to do a test. Send 3 guys out there to test 3 different types of tire. Just be a little bit more prepared. I hate knee-jerk reactions, so don't do that like Matt stated, but do something to let us know that you're willing to work on something or maybe trying to make the racing better. Because I would hate to get a knee-jerk reaction and then we show up at Martinsville in the fall with a completely different tire, a completely different gearbox, and it still races like shit because the conditions aren't the same as what we had then. So the weather, the conditions is weird. I don't know. I think you let it go and you just put a little bit more prep into it. I just think NASCAR with the new car, they should allow a little bit more testing at some of these tracks and for some of these teams. And throughout the season, they should give leeways as far as, that goes because it is a new car and they really don't know what you're going to get out of it. And I think maybe they would have, going back to if you have an hour practice session, you might be able to figure these things out during those. So I just think a test session that's longer would have helped a little bit here.
Yeah, I just keep telling myself, it was the cold weather, and if we were 30 degrees warmer, we would have had a great race. That's what I don't know if my heart's telling me to listen to that, and my brain's going, it sounds good to me, something like that. I don't know. Let's move along though. We're heading down, like you said, to Bristol, the dirt race, baby. We're heading to Bristol, baby. Trucks on a track Saturday night, 8 p.m. on FS1 for the Pinty's truck race on dirt. Xfinity is off this weekend. And then Cup, here's where things get a little weird. So practice 1 and 2, we have 2 practice sessions on Friday, 4:05 and 6:35 on FS1. And then Saturday night, we have 4 qualifying heat races. You want to tune in, 6 p.m. Here's the rub. It's on FS2.
I'm gonna miss all of it. I'm going to a Penguins game Saturday night.
Man, get it together.
Yeah, I had to sacrifice it, man. It was my out for Easter. It was my out to get back home, get done with the family stuff, wrap that up early on Sunday, so I can get back and watch the A-main.
Here's the thing: I didn't even realize we were doing qualifying heat races on Saturday until I looked it up. I assumed the heat races were going to be on Sunday. I was like, all right. Cup on track Easter Sunday, 7 p.m. on Fox for the Food City Dirt Race. I looked that up. I go, 7 p.m., but they always fuck us. They fucked us at the Clash. They did it to us last year. Last year, Bristol was all messed up, but they always do it with the All-Star race where they're like, oh, it starts at 8, but really the knockout rounds start at 6 and they don't advertise that. So I'm like, all right, well, when are the heat races? And then I see, they're Saturday night. 6 p.m., but it's on FS2, which you have to have the top tier cable package to get FS2. But if you Google, maybe go on Reddit, do a little Googling, you can find a live stream. We'll figure it out. We'll get through it. I got a link. I don't remember. It's a weird link. It's one of those long ones with a lot of capital and lowercase letters. It's like xtjmr4.com/streaming/FS1. So, do a little Googling, maybe update your web browser's virus scan, and we'll get to watch the qualifying somehow. But Matt, you want to jump into the picks?
Yeah, sorry about that, Mike.
Oh, did I lose him? Did we lose you? No, you're back.
Are you? Yep. Okay. You guys there? You guys were frozen there for a second. Yeah. So we've got picks. We've got head-to-head this week. Do you want, Whitey, the top 10 odds favorites?
Yeah. So to review from Martinsville, give us the top 10, and then we'll make our picks, and then we'll review the head-to-heads. So last week, you picked Martin Truex Jr. He got you 15 points, so that puts you in last place for the second week in a row. Eric picked Eric Almirola. He got you 39 points. A nice day right there. Told you he came in 8th. And I picked Joey Logano. He got me 46 points, so I picked last this week. Give us the top 10 odds-on favorites for Bristol Dirt. I bet you Kyle Larson's number 1.
So I switched over to, if you watched my gambling video this past weekend for Martinsville, I mentioned that I did make the switch from DraftKings over to FanDuel. The only problem is DraftKings updates the odds a lot sooner in the week than it seems like FanDuel does. So FanDuel is not posted yet, so I am going to be using the odds provided to us by DraftKings. They do have that up. I'm just trying to filibuster while I find it here. Here we go. So the top 10 odds favorites for the Bristol Dirt Race. It's going to be interesting. Because you're going to see some dirt guys here with some dirt background. So we'll start. Kyle Busch is plus 1,600 going into this weekend. Now, keep in mind, we are recording on Monday. These are all going to change after the heat races on Saturday. But as of right now, these are the odds. Chase Briscoe plus 1,400. Martin Truex Jr. and Tyler Reddick also both plus 1,400, along with Alex Bowman as well. So 4 guys there with the same odds. And then you move into the favorites here, the top couple guys. You've got William Byron at plus 1,200. I like those odds for him. He's on a heater right now. Yeah. I know he wasn't a dirt guy. You know, he comes from simulation racing, but I like those odds for some reason. And then Chase Elliott plus 1,000. He started to dabble a little bit in some dirt racing as well in the off season. So that's interesting. Joey Logano, our winner last year at the Bristol Dirt Race, the surprise winner, some might say. That seems to be the reason why he's so high up in our odds-on favorites here. He and Christopher Bell are both plus 800. Christopher Bell is a dirt guy. He runs the Chili Bowl. He comes from that type of racing, so it's no surprise that he's up there. And then of course, Mr. Dirt himself, the king on dirt, Kyle Larson, plus 650. As of right now, he is our favorite to win the Bristol Dirt Race. There's no surprise there. So those are your odds.
I don't know if I would actually go with the dirt guys that they listed.
We said it last year too, and we were smart, Kyle Larson, I think Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell took each other out last year.
Yeah,
they did.
So it's, and then Joey Logano, who has Joey Logano has as much dirt experience as us three do.
Yeah, zero dirt experience, and he won.
So it's going to be really tricky to kind of figure out who's going to win this race.
Looking at the top 10 from last year, Joey Logano won. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. came in second. Not a dirt guy. Or no, he is a dirt guy. Is Ricky a dirt guy? Okay.
Ricky is, yeah.
Okay. I thought he just did short track like modifieds and stuff. Okay. Denny Hamlin came in third. Daniel Suarez came in fourth. And if you remember, Suarez was great last year. All day long, he was solid. He led a bunch of laps. It's probably his best race of last year. Never touched dirt in his life before that. Fifth place was Ryan Newman. Sixth was William Byron. Seventh, Tyler Reddick. Ryan Blaney, eighth. Eric Jones, ninth. And Chase Elliott was your 10th place. So a pretty interesting mix of drivers. And a lot of them weren't really in the top 10 of the odds that you just read out. So it kind of makes me think that the odds makers didn't pay attention last year. I'm not feeling Kyle Larson. I'm not feeling, Christopher Bell. They both weren't running very well last year. What do you guys think?
I've got a wild card for my pick. Do you want to do the head-to-head matchups first? Or do you want to get into our picks and then do the head-to-heads?
let's stick to the picks for now. Unless you want some time to think, we'll go through the head-to-heads.
I know. I'm going first. I had an awful week by picking Martin Truex at Martinsville last week, so I'm going first. I already know who I'm taking.
All right, who are you going to do?
A guy who's been doing a lot of dirt car racing this lately. He's actually got his own dirt car. He's somebody
Wow, he's doing it. He's doing it. I know who you're going with. I think
I do too.
Do you?
I think
one of our big time fans, a buddy of ours who's going to be traveling to Dover with us.
That's who I thought you were going to pick.
Going to be pumped.
I was going to bring him up.
I'm going with Alex Bowman to win this race.
Car.
Yeah. I'm going with Alex Bowman to win this race.
That's why I'm like, man, there's some dirt guys you didn't talk about. Bowman's a dirt guy that runs really well. Reddick, I was surprised by the stats there. He's grown up on dirt. Yeah, I think Bowman is a great pick, to be honest with you. All right, Eric, you're second. Who are you picking?
Well, I went with the wild card last week, got me 39 points. I thought it was a good pick on my end, going with Eric Almirola, kind of not so common driver to pick. I'm going to stick with that, and for the first time this year, I'm going to go homer pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Eric Jones. I'm taking my boy this week. I'm going to be there. I'm hoping to check it off my list of, seeing, my driver win live. So he runs well at regular Bristol. He ran well on the dirt. He's been running well with this new car. So I just think all in all, it might come together. Let some of those dirt guys beat and bang on each other like last year, and keep your car clean, EJ. And that's what he does really well. That's why he's always in it at super speedway races. So I just think, he's not a big dirt guy, but, short tracking, and just this new car, I think he's got a feel for it. And mainly because I'm going to be there, I want to see him win.
Something in me is telling me that Daniel Suarez is going to perform really well again at Bristol Dirt.
Okay.
But since Eric picked a homer pick, I'm picking a homer pick. I'm going to do the first one. Like we said, we're only picking a driver a maximum of 5 times. I'm picking a driver for the second time so far this season. I'm going with my guy, Tyler Reddick, the Dirt King of California. Move over Kyle Larson. We'll see what he could do. I don't know.
I'm loving our picks, boys.
I like it too. You want to know what, Matt? If you didn't pick Bowman, I probably would have, because he was one of the first people I thought of where I'm like, I bet you he surprises a lot of people with his performance. Considering I didn't hear him in the top 10 of the odds-on favorites for DraftKings, I think that was a poor decision on them to not handicap him better.
Bowman was in it. Bowman and Reddick were both in it. They were both plus 1,400, tied with Martin Truex with plus 1,400. There were 3 drivers.
Criminally underrated dirt drivers.
Agreed.
All right, let's do these head-to-heads. We are running out of time.
Yes, we are. All right, so the first matchup, one guy that Whitey did bring up, and one guy that none of us brought up, Chase Briscoe versus Daniel Suarez. Chase Briscoe is the favorite. He's minus 180 to Daniel Suarez's plus 150. I'm personally taking the favorite there. And Chase Briscoe, he's got that dirt pedigree behind him, so that's what I'm taking.
Yeah, I'm going with the 14 as well. They've been running well. That's a bright spot at Stewart-Haas, and Stewart-Haas is coming alive of recent and running a lot better. So I'm going to go with that, that 14 car here.
Yeah, Briscoe's running really great. He's been real consistent. I think it's a solid pick. But since I did bring up Daniel Suarez, I'm not gonna backtrack on that one. I'll pick Daniel Suarez, but I think Chase Briscoe has a good shot at winning also. So,
all right, we got 2 guys, the 2 top-notch dirt guys that everyone loves: Kyle Larson versus Christopher Bell. Kyle Larson is your slight favorite at a minus 125. Christopher Bell minus 105. I think this is a toss-up. I almost went with Christopher Bell with my pick, but I'm going to stick with Kyle Larson. He had trouble last year. He's going to avoid that trouble. He's going to perform well this weekend, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Larson as well. Like I said, I'm going to be down there. I'm an Eric Jones fan. My girlfriend's a Kyle Larson fan. So got to root the two of those guys on, and either one gets in victory lane, I'll be happy. But I got to go with Larson with this one.
I'm going Christopher Bell. He's been way more consistent this year, in my opinion. He runs really well at short tracks, and he's a dirt guy. Give me Christopher Bell.
All right, we've got the winner from last year, Joey Logano versus Martin Truex. Joey Logano's the favorite at -160 in this head-to-head matchup. Martin Truex at +130. I'll tell you what, just because of those odds, and I don't think Joey Logano's going to repeat, I'm going to take Martin Truex with the +130, the underdog between these two.
I'm going with the 22. He just seems, whether he's good at a track or not, he just seems to show up. And, you know, the way that Gibbs has been running lately, that's another reason why I didn't go with Christopher Bell, and another reason why I'm not going to go with Truex. Yes, Bell has been running, you know, decent, probably the best of the bunch. But Truex, I just don't think they get over their struggles here at Bristol Dirt. I'm going to stick with Logano.
I'm surprised to see the lines that different, considering Martin Truex Jr. won the truck race here last year on dirt. And he's not a dirt guy either. I'm going to go with Joey Logano, though, just because of what Eric said, though. The performance of Gibbs really isn't there, especially Martin Truex Jr. So, yeah, give me Joey Logano.
All right, and for our final matchup, it's William Byron versus Alex Bowman. William Byron has the slight edge over Alex Bowman, -120 to Alex Bowman's -110. I picked him to win the race. I'm sticking with that. I'm taking Alex Bowman, the dirt guy.
I'm going with the hot hand. Normally, when you're hot, you stay hot. And I don't see William Byron cooling down, you know, anytime soon. And some of these dirt guys, like you mentioned, the 48, they might try a little too hard to run like those other dirt cars and get themselves into trouble. Gonna stick with Willie B here in the hot hand.
Yeah, give me Billy 2 clocks to get him 2 trophies in 2 weeks. Billy 2 clocks all day long.
Slick Billy 2 clocks, baby.
Slick Billy 2 clocks. That is our picks for the weekend. Again, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening at home on the podcast and you don't watch on YouTube, still head on over to the YouTube page, hit subscribe. That way you see Matt's betting preview, which happens usually after practice in qualifying. So you get a little bit of a better idea of who's looking good in the weekend. Check that out. Hit that bell, all that good stuff. We are 8 races in and we have 7 different winners. Our first repeat winner in Willie 2 clocks. Old Billy 2 clocks getting it done. Austin Cindric, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, 2 wins on the season. Ross Chastain and Denny Hamlin all locked themselves into the playoffs thus far. Will we see a repeat winner this weekend in Bristol? Will we see a new winner this season? Will we see a first-time winner? I don't know. Who will it be? Will it be Alex Bowman on the dirt? Will it be EJ with his #1 fan in the stands? Or will it be Tyler Reddick getting it done on dirt? We will find out this Sunday night, 7 p.m. Easter Sunday on Fox for the Food City Dirt Race. And we will break it all down for you, not Monday night, but Tuesday night, because Eric will be down there. He's going to be traveling. For Matt, the Statman Reilly, for Eric, Daytona Ron. I hope you enjoy the race, buddy. We'll break it all down for you Tuesday night. I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
The bump and run.
There it is.
Slick Billy 2 cold.